Does it look like this in your part of the world? Looks like a snow globe where I am, and it is divine. And after we chat, I have one more thing to do to write up, and then I'm heading outside. This is beautiful. I hope you're enjoying your outdoors as well. This is the time of year we need to go outside, the time of year that seems kind of least intuitive because it's so, well, gray, but we want to go outside because we need the vitamin D, we need the sunlight, and somehow getting outside makes us feel a little less claustrophobic or blah. So I hope that you can enjoy some outdoor time with your kids as well. If we haven't met, I'm Teresa Wiedrick. I am the certified life coach and homeschool mentor found here on the Facebook group, Homeschool Mama Support Group, every Tuesday. Also, I can be found on my website, capturingthecharmlife.com. I have a podcast called Homeschool Mama Self-Care and also a book by the same name. I offer various group coaching programs. I have a group coaching program about to begin in the next couple of weeks called Foundations for Homeschool Mom Fulfillment, previously known as the Building Boundaries group coaching program. And my intention is to support you in whatever ways you need in your homeschool mom life, which comes in many different packages, I know. And I get to have a lot of one-on-one conversations with homeschool moms to walk alongside them to help them shed what's not working so they can show up in their homeschool and in their life authentically, confidently, and purposefully. And I love this work. So here in the Facebook group today, I wanted to address a few people's questions. New members, so welcome everyone. Lovely to have you here. You are not just a number or a name to me. You're a real person I know with real homeschool mom stories. And if we haven't met before, I live in British Columbia and I have 4 kids, but 3 of them are all grown up. One is grade 10 year, so he's like 15 plus. And it's really weird having kids that age. It is very weird because I feel like I'm still with you in spirit, except I don't have the same kind of overwhelm, sensory stimulation. So much going on, I don't know how to balance it all, but it wasn't that long ago that I was exactly where you are. In fact, it feels like yesterday, but yesterday was quiet too. So anyways, my heart is with you and my intention is to help you create strategies so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. So that is who I am. I'm Teresa, and I want to welcome the new members to this group. But I'm going to do it in the form of answering some questions because when you join the group, you're you're welcome to ask me questions. In fact, you're welcome to ask me questions in the Facebook group throughout the week, and I'd happily answer them here as well. I know there's a lot of other wisdom that is in this Facebook group and many other groups around the internet, probably in your backyard in real time too. And my intention is to make it less anonymous and make you feel more seen in your specific scenario. So with that, I think I've already addressed or had a conversation here with Cassie, but if I haven't, then I just wanted to say, hey, Cassie, nice to meet you. You're homeschooling your 4 kids, 3 to 11. You're tired and overwhelmed. And, as I was looking at the thing that you said, I went, wow, this is exactly what I would say to other people that I do, is that my intention is to encourage you to be consistent, move toward emotional growth, and have personal support. That's what I do. So I am so glad you're here. If you haven't already signed up for the 5-day wellness challenge, I think you would benefit. And if you want me to put your name into the 5-day wellness challenge, let me know. I find that taking people's emails and putting them into my email community doesn't really serve them. Sometimes they're like, who is that? So I would rather ask permission or have you join the challenge yourself so that you remember that you signed up and then I wasn't just plugging your email. But I do think that the 5-day wellness challenge that I created last summer for homeschool moms would be a real benefit for you. Also, let's see, April, I think I've had a chat here with you too, but Humor me if I have already. April, you said you're just beginning your homeschool journey, and what do you need most out of this group? Everything. You're so overwhelmed. Oh yeah, girl, there is a reason I wrote my book. It was because I too was overwhelmed. I even have a group coaching program at the end of the year focused on overwhelm for a reason, because it's a common refrain, especially in the first year. It really is in the first year. You have so many ideas. You think education has to look a certain way. You're trying to get connected to your kid in a different way. I mean, it depends on how old your kids are. If you're taking them out of school, then you're trying to reconnect with them at home. And if you're not taking them out of school and it's just all new to you and they're just moving into school-aged years, then there's this feeling that you're comparing what you're doing to what you already know in the school system, or perhaps other people you know, how their kids are being educated. And it's a lot. My encouragement to you is to keep going, to obviously look for support, to get some mindset shifting going on, to learn more about what an education really means, whether you really need to follow a specific homeschool or educational method, or if you can just follow your child. If you want more support, I've got a guide for first-year homeschoolers. So welcome to Michelle. I think Michelle and I were chatting today in the Facebook group. She said this is her 11th year of homeschooling. One graduated, one in high school, and one in kindergarten. Girl, gaps. Wow, that's amazing. Well done. I hope that your high schooler is super helpful for your kindergartner. Gotta hope. You would like community with moms in similar phases and places in homeschool life. Well, welcome, because in my experience, we all have different stories. We all have different experiences around homeschooling, or why we come into homeschooling. We have different experiences in education before we arrived on the homeschool shores. We have a different experience with each of our kids because they're different people. And none of us are the same as homeschool families. None of us are the same. I really thought I was going to meet up with a bunch of homeschool families in the same place every week and create community that way. And I learned, and that we would just all be doing it similarly. We'd have similar values and similar approaches to all the things. And then I learned, nope, we're actually quite independent, you know, jumping off this beaten path of home or education. We're doing things outside the box in the education realm. And then when we get into the homeschool realm, we realize we're different from the people in the homeschool realm too. And that's great because that makes the world interesting. But it also requires us to grow in that independence. But it actually is a place, like homeschooling is really a place where there's a lot of independent thinkers, and it's very interesting. And learning to build community, despite that, you know, those moments where you're like, oh, people really aren't the same as me, is just like a personal growth building experience. And it really is a beautiful one. That's why I say that it doesn't matter to me what method people aspire or ascribe to. It doesn't matter to me what worldview you engage or how you see the world. It doesn't matter to me, all the things. You're going to be different. I expect everyone is different. And because of that, I can connect with an awful lot of people, and my life is so much more rich because of that. And so I invite you to our community, whether it's here in the support group or on the Patreon support group, which is a private support group with a lot closer support, a lot more, I think, meaningful support. And also I noticed you, so if you're in 11th year homeschooling, I'm curious how it's going. You're welcome to join the 5-day wellness challenge as well. I can give you the link if you'd like me to. And I'm so glad you're here. There is Lucy. So welcome, Lucy. I've begun my 2nd year of homeschooling. My kids are 1, 3, and 6, and I need some self-care reminders and strategies. I would love to hear what is at the top of your list. I've noticed that there are typically different phases of focus on self-care. Like, in the early days, if you are someone that has had a baby and delivered a baby into the world, I don't know what your experience was like, but I remember thinking, if I could just get a shower, that would be good. And then you move into that first year or two, that probably also is the first 5 years, where you're like, I would just like sleep. Sleep would be good. And then move into the next, I don't know, 10 or so years, and you're like, separate time, anytime, any quiet separate time would be really good. And then you move into, I think, the older, and this isn't obviously always the exact same for everyone and not everyone's experience, but then you move into the older parenting phase and you're like, I think I want to develop my own thing that's apart from my family. And so I'm curious, where are you at in the self-care strategy? What are we going to call that? Pyramid? Yeah, Abraham Maslow's pyramid for homeschool moms, or Teresa Wiedrich's pyramid for homeschool moms. I'm curious where you are. Guessing that you're in the second year of homeschooling with kids that are 1, 3, and 6. You probably need sleep. Just guessing. I would love to hear, though, if you throw it in the comment section. And I see that you are just going into your second year. So how's homeschooling going? Whitney asked me, let's see. Whitney asked me, tell me about any glaring differences that you might notice between homeschool boys versus homeschool girls. She has 3 girls and a boy, just like I did. Different kids at different, what do you call it? Like you had a first, I think you said first and a second were both girls, and then, or was it the first is a girl, the second is a boy? Yeah, and then your third is a girl, your fourth is a girl, right? And mine were 3 girls and a boy. So I had a small number of kids, not really, but I had a few, not very many people in my research study. If you're asking me my opinions of the differences between the genders for homeschooling, I don't think I have enough people in my homeschool to really give an honest answer. I know I've heard so many things over the years that gender never matters, or I've heard that it's very distinct differences. And I've heard that, boys might be slower to read, slower to communicate, busier. And girls are going to want to sit down and be more quiet and play dolls. And I have seen like none of those things bear out exactly in my home. I notice that gender matters. I also notice that it's more dependent on whether your Enneagram type, how your Enneagram type reflects how you relate and how you relate to the world and how you focus your energies. I'm sure you're not surprised I said that because you know how much I like Enneagram. I really should do a deep dive in the support group on Enneagram sometime. I find it so useful in learning to relate to others and also to learn to relate to you too. Everyone that joins me in one-on-one coaching, I always ask them their Myers-Briggs type and their Enneagram type. And both of those help me understand different women for different reasons, but the Enneagram type helps us to relate to other people. And even though there are some people that will say you can't know for sure what the Enneagram type is for a specific child because they're children, yeah, that probably possibly is true because they're growing and developing, so they're not necessarily static. And maybe one of them identifies more with a certain parent. But I have noticed that they are all pretty consistent throughout the years, and each of my 4 kids, and that helps me to understand more about how to relate to them in the homeschool realm and in relationships than the actual gender difference. Because, my Enneagram type 8 kiddo, who is a girl, would appear to have certain character traits that would seem more masculine, or at least the way the culture determines whether something is more masculine or feminine. And yet she's a female. So, she might have looked different, and she was my first. So when she was little, she was very busy. She didn't like to sit down. She wasn't instinctively playing with dolls and all those things. So for me, she doesn't fit strict gender stereotypes, is what I would say. And whereas my son is very logical and he's very much a reader, and he likes, chess and Minecraft and all sorts of different game type things, and likes to think how he can build things. He has more of a sit down, be quiet kind of energy. When it came to reading, some people will say that boys are slower to read, but that's not always true either. My kids were on the younger side learning to read, so they're not really a good research set to help understand reading, I think, because they were like, let's see, I think my oldest was 5, then 4, then 3, then my son was 6. So that's not really that old. So I don't know that I have a really good, I can't think of the word. I don't have a really good research study to share that in particular. And if anybody else does have a distinct opinion, share away. I'm sure that this right here, no question in my mind, this discussion could become hot and bothered. And it's not my intention to stir anything up, but I do think it is a fair question to ask. Does it influence how you're experiencing your homeschool kids and how they're showing up? And as with everything that I've learned about people, we're customized, we're unique, we do things differently. And I think it is more valuable to focus on a specific child and lean into understanding who the specific child is and how they, their framework for life, how they approach things. And Enneagram has been really helpful for me in that. I could go on and on. I'll leave it there. And I happily will have a chat with you later about that as well. So Kimberly said after she was doing the 5-day vision challenge, which is still available as well, she said, my goal is really to get more relaxed in our schooling. I'm like an old schoolmaster. We must finish this task or else. I want to be more free in schooling and enjoy the journey. I want you to be too, because in my experience of being the school taskmaster, which was not my original intention when I was homeschooling, my original intention was freedom, but I easily took on the role of taskmaster. And it's not satisfying. It's not for the kids and it's not for us. So, hey, maybe you want to consider D-School coaching with me in February. Desiree, welcome too. Desiree just joined today. She's a mom of 5 and started homeschooling when her oldest came school age 2 years ago. Welcome. So you're looking for guidance to see if you're doing things right, struggling with expectations, where your child should be on the journey because you also were part of the public system. Yep, that's a common discussion point. And you just stepped off the beaten path a couple of years ago. So welcome to homeschooling. And also, there's no right. There's just who is my child and how can I help to serve them? How do I help to learn about them and help them to become who they are meant to be so they can grow up and live their lives on purpose for the unique reasons that they're here on the planet. And this can be accomplished in many different ways. So dare I say, you decide what's right. You decide how to raise your child and you decide what you think would be best for them. And if you're uncertain when I just said that and you're like, I cannot believe she said that. That is so off the charts nuts. I know. Sometimes I'm aware that the things that I say sound truly like, what am I saying? I have a post-secondary education, married to someone with graduate education, and I 100% believe that we should pursue learning. I am doing it every single day. That is why I listen to podcasts and read books as voraciously as I write and as I speak with other people. And yet, I think we need to focus education towards a specific child so they become the person they want to be. Because in my own free time, I'm not reading on political stuff and I'm not reading on, big historical tomes. I'm not reading on, lots of things because I don't care about those things. I'm glad that other people care about them, but I don't. And if the world is going to be a better place, it's going to be a better place because I'm on fire doing the thing that I love to do, which is right here. And I would say you're probably similar to me. You have something that you love, or you want to find something that you love. You want to be impassioned by something. You want to live your life with fire, and you don't want to be doing it because other people said these are the things you need to live your life for. These are the things that are meaningful and you should know. But by the way, just so you know, in my experience, having homeschooled across the methods, I've learned that, to my utter surprise, when you lean into deschooling or lean into child-led learning, you discover that there are many ways to learn learn various things. You don't have to be in a classroom to learn about buoyancy and water properties of water. You could just go to the pond and you could accomplish the same thing. Also, I've learned with my unschool seasons that you actually learn many things very quickly if you're living or if you're learning with a very hands-on approach and are pursuing things that your kids are interested in. You actually will cover all the expectations or learning outcomes of the local area, province, state, country that you're in, and cover all sorts of things without even intending to. So hands-on learning, really living in your world, experiencing your world in real time rather than assuming everything belongs inside a classroom with a teacher, with a blackboard. I just dated myself. I don't think anybody has a blackboard in their classroom anymore. Am I wrong? But anyways, I don't think any of that stuff is required for you to learn. You learn because you want to learn. And you learn because you're given interesting things to follow after. You learn, you really learn, when someone allows you, gives you permission to follow your interests, to do the things that you love to do, and to be curious for a day and then to put it away and not be curious about it, but then to follow in some other path and keep learning. To really have a parent hold you, to hold space for you, to say, I want you to learn in whatever way that will really serve you. And so you can live your life purposefully when you're 5 or 18 or 62. Beautiful. So clearly, I have a few opinions there. So when you say, I want guidance that I'm doing things right, and you struggle with expectations of where your children are on this journey, yeah, welcome to the crowd. This is a common refrain. And also, you don't have to struggle with those things. If you want to have a conversation with me, we could chat about how we can, what your actual experience is or the things that you're thinking. Because based on, a short couple questions or a couple answers, I can't really know how to address that directly. But I can say this, that what you just said is something that I've heard many, many times. I'm sure there's many in this group that have, and we've all experienced them, by the way. We've all been there, done that. And what really taught me, and what often I hear teaches other homeschool moms, is experience, because they're with their kids and they realize, you know what? They're learning. They're not always learning if I'm force feeding something, but they are learning and they like to learn. They're not always learning because they're learning or because I've sat them down to do something. They're not always learning because I've decided that something's important. They learn because they want to learn. And what I just said is actually backed by science. And I could give you the details of that if you're curious, if you're someone logic-based that actually is benefited by a discussion on what does the research say. So it's funny to me that the education system doesn't actually take a hint based on that kind of research, but anyways, it isn't. If you'd like to have a conversation with me, let me know, and I would happily give you my booking link and we'll have a conversation. In the podcast today, I released my podcast today on vision planning for 2024 as a homeschool mom. It discusses vision planning for your homeschool and also for your personal vision. So check it out. It's on Apple and all the podcast players, actually. If you're interested in the boundaries checklist, just ask me for that. There's a free boundaries checklist available, and also a Deschool Your Homeschool Challenge. I'm replete with free resources and also paid resources, so just let me know what would serve you. And I hope you have a beautiful week playing in the outdoors. That's where I'm going to be.